She worked as a cleaner in a big restaurant. Every night, she begged for leftover food. No one knew where she went after work, but one day, her rich boss secretly followed her, and what he saw that night made him cry. Who really was this poor woman? What was the real story behind her quiet pain? Sit back and find out as we dive into this powerful story. In the heart of Abuja, there stood a tall, beautiful restaurant called the Golden Plate. The building shined like glass. Every day, big cars came and parked in front. Inside, rich men and women sat on soft chairs and ate expensive food. The man who owned the place was called Mr. Chijioke. People called him Sir Chijioke. He was rich, very rich. Mr. Chijioke always wore clean suits. His shoes shined like mirrors. When he walked into the restaurant every morning, the staff stood up to greet him. "Good morning, sir," the staff would say. He would smile, nod his head, and say, "Carry on." He didn't talk too much. He liked watching everything quietly. Mr. Chijioke drove a black SUV that looked brand new. He had many workers, over 50. Some worked in the kitchen, some served food, and others cleaned the floors. But behind all the luxury, something strange was about to happen. It was a quiet night in Abuja. The lights inside the Golden Plate restaurant were dim. All the customers had gone. Most of the staff had closed for the day. Mr. Chijioke came out of his office. He looked tired. He loosened his tie and sighed as he walked down the steps. It had been a long day. He pressed his car key. The black SUV made a sound. But then he saw something strange. A woman was standing close to his car, not too close, but not far either. She wore the brown and gold uniform of the restaurant. Her hands were folded. Her eyes were low. Mr. Chijioke stopped walking. He narrowed his eyes. "Who's that?" he asked, looking around. There were only a few cleaners left outside. The woman stood still, like she was waiting for something. Mr. Chijioke took a few steps forward. The air felt heavy. Something didn't feel normal. He walked up to her slowly. She looked up, then quickly looked down again. "You work in the cleaning department, right?" "Yes, sir," she said softly. "My name is Ngozi." She didn't raise her head. She held her hands together like she was scared. Mr. Chijioke looked confused. "So why are you standing near my car?" Ngozi bit her lip. Then she took a small breath. "Please, sir, I want to ask for a favor." Mr. Chijioke waited. He was thinking she might ask for money, or maybe she wanted to complain. Ngozi looked up for a second, then looked down again. "Can I take some leftover food home?" she asked. Mr. Chijioke blinked. He didn't speak for a moment. "Just leftover food?" He stared at her. "Is that all you want?" Ngozi nodded. "Yes, sir. Just the leftover food, if there's any." There was silence, the kind of silence that makes your chest feel tight. Mr. Chijioke looked at her again. She looked tired. Her shoes were old. Her voice was low. He gave a small nod. "Okay," he said. Ngozi whispered, "Thank you, sir," and turned around quickly, walking back into the kitchen. Mr. Chijioke stood there beside his car. He didn't enter the car. He just stood still, watching the kitchen door. Something inside his heart had started to move, and he didn't know why. He got into his car. He watched her go back into the kitchen. The car engine was off. The car park was quiet. He leaned back in his seat and closed his eyes for a moment, but his mind wasn't resting. That question kept coming back. Why would a worker ask for just leftover food? Not money, not help, not a raise, just food. He opened his eyes and stared at the restaurant door. Something didn't feel right. He thought about Ngozi's voice. It was soft, not weak but tired. And when she looked at him, there was something in her eyes, like someone holding back pain. Mr. Chijioke checked his time. It was almost 10 p.m. Still, he didn't drive off. He wanted to see where she would go. He wanted to understand why she would ask for leftovers like it was a gift. His heart started to beat a little faster. "I'll wait," he said to himself quietly. Roughly 10 minutes had passed. Then the restaurant door opened. It was Ngozi. She stepped out slowly, In her hands were 2 small nylon bags. It did not look heavy. She held it close and started walking. Mr. Chijioke lowered himself in his seat and waited till she was a bit far. Then he turned the key slowly. The engine came alive, but he kept his light off for a few seconds. He drove slowly. He kept a safe distance, far enough that she wouldn't hear the sound of his car, but close enough not to lose her. Ngozi kept walking. Her steps were fast. After some minutes, Ngozi turned and entered a small yellow bus. Mr. Chijioke's eyes followed the bus as it drove away. Without thinking twice, he joined the road and followed it. The bus was full. The roads were rough, but he stayed close, watching from behind. The sky had gone dark. Street lights were few in that area, and some were not even working. Still, he followed. Almost 30 minutes later, the bus finally stopped. Ngozi came down slowly, still holding her nylon bags. She did not look around. She just turned and walked into a small, untarred road. Mr. Chijioke stopped his car far behind and turned off his engine. He stepped out quietly and looked ahead. There was nothing beautiful there. No shops, no fine houses, no cars. The place was quiet and dark. He slowly walked a little closer. Ngozi walked up to an old, broken building. The walls were cracked. The roof was old. The windows were broken. Mr. Chijioke stood still. He looked at the place again. "This is her house," he whispered. It was hard to believe. This was not a home. It looked like a place people ran away from. He took a deep breath and stepped back, his heart heavy with thoughts he could not explain. Mr. Chijioke stood hidden in the dark. He was still looking at the old building when something happened. The old door opened with a loud creak. 2 small girls ran out barefoot, laughing as they jumped into Ngozi's arms. "Mommy," the first one shouted. "Mommy, you came back," the second one said. Ngozi dropped the nylon bag and hugged them both tightly. Her smile was wide, but her eyes looked tired. She bent down and kissed their foreheads. "I'm here, my darlings," she said softly. "I brought something for you." From where he stood, Mr. Chijioke could see everything. His heart beat fast. He has children. He touched his chest lightly. Ngozi took the girls gently by the hand and led them back into the broken house. Mr. Chijioke watched through the broken window from where he was standing. Ngozi sat the girls down on the mat. She opened the nylon bag and brought out the leftover food, 1 piece of chicken and jollof rice. She cut everything in 2 and placed them on 2 small plates. The girls grabbed their plates quickly. They started eating fast, their mouths full, their eyes bright. But Ngozi did not eat. She just sat there on the bare floor, looking at them, smiling. Mr. Chijioke blinked. His chest felt heavy. He looked at the food, then at Ngozi. She brought food, but she didn't eat. He shook his head slowly. Something inside him began to change. He turned away from the window and stood still in the dark. Tears came to his eyes. He turned again and stared at the window. He saw Ngozi smiling at the girls as they ate. She was still not eating. Mr. Chijioke held his chest. He felt a sharp pain in his heart. He looked up at the sky and whispered, "She only took food for her children and didn't eat anything." He wiped his eyes. His hands were shaking. The same woman he thought was just a worker was now the reason his heart felt heavy. He looked at the broken house again. Then he looked down at his shiny shoes. He didn't feel rich anymore. He just felt sad. Slowly, Mr. Chijioke walked back to his car. The street was quiet, only the sound of crickets. He opened the door and sat down inside. He didn't start the engine. He just sat there thinking. His eyes were still wet. He looked at his steering wheel and said, "I must do something. I can't leave her like this." After a while, he turned on the car. The lights came on. He drove away slowly, looking at the building one last time through the mirror. That night, he went home, but he couldn't sleep. He turned in his bed again and again, All he could see in his mind was Ngozi and those two little girls and that one piece of chicken. The next morning, the sun came out slowly. Ngozi woke up early. She looked at her two little girls still sleeping on the mat. She smiled and touched their hair. "Time to wake up, my angels," she said softly. The girls opened their eyes slowly. "Mommy, are we going to school today?" one of them asked. "Yes, my love. Let's get ready." Ngozi helped them up and carried a small bucket outside. She poured water into a bowl. Then she helped them take a quick bath, one after the other. She dried them with a small towel and rubbed their skin gently. She brought out their small school uniforms and helped them wear it. Then she combed their hair and packed it neatly into two little ponytails. After that, she opened the nylon bag from last night. Just a small portion of rice was left, just enough to feed the two kids. She heated it on a small gas cylinder stove. She put it in two small plastic plates and placed them in front of them. "Here, eat this before we go," she said. The girls sat quietly and ate, their legs crossed on the floor. Ngozi watched them and smiled, but her eyes looked far away. When they finished eating, she packed their books into their school bags. She gave each of them a small bottle of water. Then they stepped outside together. The sun was getting bright. They walked slowly to a small community school close to the house. It had no gate and the walls were old, but the girls were happy. Ngozi knelt down and hugged them tightly. "Be good girls," she said, kissing their foreheads. "I will be back soon." The girls waved at her as they ran into the school. Ngozi stood there for a moment, then turned and walked away. She had to get to work on time. At the restaurant, Ngozi changed into her work clothes. She tied her apron and joined the other cleaners. She swept the floor quickly. She mopped under the chairs. She cleaned every table until it was shining. Her hands moved fast. She didn't look tired. She didn't look sad. She even smiled at the other workers. That morning, Mr. Chijioke sat quietly in his office. He looked out of the window but was not really seeing anything. His mind was still on Ngozi and those two little girls. He picked up his phone and called the HR manager into his office. "Good morning, sir," the HR manager said. Mr. Chijioke's voice was calm but firm. He said, "We need to do better." "Sir?" the HR manager asked. "Our workers, some of them are really suffering." The office went quiet. Then he added, "Raise their pay. Start this month. Make sure nobody goes home hungry." "Yes, sir," the HR manager replied quickly. Mr. Chijioke leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes as the HR manager walked out of his office. Ngozi's face came to his mind again, sitting on the floor, smiling at her children while they ate. He opened his eyes and whispered, "She didn't even eat." Days passed. Ngozi kept coming to work early. She cleaned the floors with care. She wiped every table like it was her own. She never came late. She never frowned. She never asked for anything more than leftover food. Every evening, when the restaurant was closing, she would walk quietly to the back door. She would knock gently and ask the kitchen staff, "Please, is there any leftover food today?" Sometimes there was just a few portions of rice, but she never complained. She would say thank you with a smile, pack it into her nylon bag and walk away. Mr. Chijioke kept watching from a distance. He didn't speak to her yet. He just watched and listened. Each day his heart grew heavier, and each night he kept thinking, how many others are like her? Ngozi was cleaning the tables that morning when the head cook walked up to her. "The boss wants to see you," the cook said. Ngozi looked up quickly. Her heart started beating fast. She asked, "Did I do something wrong?" in a soft voice. The cook shook her head. "I don't know. Just go and see him." Ngozi wiped her hands on her apron. She walked slowly to Mr. Chijioke's office. She knocked gently. "Come in," Mr. Chijioke said. Ngozi opened the door and stepped in. She looked nervous. "Good morning, sir," she said quietly. "Sit down, Ngozi," Mr. Chijioke said with a kind smile. She sat down slowly, not sure what was happening. For a moment, there was silence. Then Mr. Chijioke spoke gently. "Ngozi, I followed you one night." Ngozi's eyes opened wide. She looked confused. She asked, "You followed me?" "Yes," Mr. Chijioke said. "I saw where you live. I saw your two little girls." Ngozi looked down at the floor. Her hands were shaking. Tears came into her eyes. She wiped her face quickly with her hand. She said in a low voice, "I didn't mean to do anything wrong. I was just trying to feed my children." Mr. Chijioke shook his head. You did nothing wrong, he said. He looked straight into her eyes. You are a good mother. You are strong. You work very hard. Ngozi could not speak. She was crying quietly now. Then Mr. Chijioke said, I want to help you. Ngozi looked up, her eyes full of tears. The next day, Mr. Chijioke called Ngozi again. She walked into the office slowly. She was still not sure what to expect. Ngozi, Mr. Chijioke said with a smile, I have good news for you. He gave her a piece of paper. Ngozi looked at it carefully. It said, Promotion, personal assistant to the CEO. She looked at him confused. You are now my personal assistant, Mr. Chijioke said. You will earn a better salary henceforth. Ngozi covered her mouth with her hands. Tears filled her eyes again. That's not all, Mr. Chijioke continued. He stood up from his chair and picked up a brown envelope from the table. I bought a small apartment for you and your children, he said gently. It's not much, but it's something decent, somewhere clean, somewhere. Ngozi's hands began to shake. She couldn't believe her ears. You and your girls will not sleep on the floor anymore, Mr. Chijioke added. There is water, light, and good space for them to read and sleep well. Ngozi placed both hands on her chest. Sir, she whispered, is this really for me? Mr. Chijioke nodded slowly. You deserve more, Ngozi. You are a good mother. You work hard. You don't complain. Then he said, I will also enroll them in a better school, and from now on, you won't have to beg for food again. Ngozi fell on her knees. Tears rolled down her face like a river. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I don't know what to say, she cried. Mr. Chijioke smiled kindly. He opened his drawer and brought out a small white envelope. Take this, he said. Use it to buy something nice for dinner tonight. Ngozi took the envelope with both hands. She held it close to her chest. God bless you, sir, she said through her tears. Mr. Chijioke nodded. You deserve it, Ngozi. That night, the small room smelled different. It smelled sweet, like joy. Ngozi stood in front of the small stove, stirring the pot gently. It was jollof rice and chicken, real chicken. The two girls sat on a mat, watching the food with wide eyes. Mani, you bought a lot of chicken, the younger one exclaimed. She turned and smiled. Yes, my love, today we eat well. When the food was ready, she served it on 3 plates. The girls took the plates and sat down quickly. They didn't wait. They started eating with happy hands. The older girl said, chewing fast, Mommy, this is the best food ever. I love it. The younger one added, her mouth full, It tastes like heaven. Ngozi sat close to them and watched. She didn't speak much. She just smiled. Tears sat quietly in her eyes, but they didn't fall. For the first time in a long time, she saw her children eat and laugh without worry, and that was enough for her. The next morning, something strange happened. A shiny black car stopped in front of their small building. Ngozi stepped outside, holding the girls' school bags. She looked at the car, confused. Then the driver stepped out and smiled. Good morning, madam. Mr. Chijioke sent me, he said. I'm here to take you to your new home. Ngozi stood still for a moment, then she turned to her girls. Get your things, she said, her voice shaking. We are moving. They all entered the car together. The ride was quiet, but their hearts were loud with joy. When they reached the new house, the girls jumped out. They ran to the front door. The house was clean. It had fresh paint. It had windows that opened. Inside, there were chairs, a clean kitchen, and soft beds. The girls ran from room to room shouting, Mommy, we have our own beds. Look, a real kitchen. We don't have to sleep on the mat anymore. Ngoli stood in the middle of the room. She turned slowly, taking it all in. Then she sat on one of the new chairs. She looked up and whispered, "Thank you, God. Thank you." Her journey was not over, but something new had begun, and this time it began with hope. Ngozi sat quietly on the soft chair in the new living room. The house was peaceful. The girls were playing with pillows on the floor, laughing. Ngozi looked around and smiled. She still couldn't believe this was her new home. She looked up at the ceiling and whispered, "God, I thank you. I really thank you." Just then, her phone began to ring. She looked at the screen. It was Mr. Chijioke. Her heart beat fast for a moment. She quickly answered the call. "Good morning, sir," she said gently. Mr. Chijioke's voice came through the phone. "Ngozi," he said, "I just wanted to check on you and your girls." "We are fine, sir. Thank you again for everything," Ngozi replied. There was a short pause. Then Mr. Chijioke said, "Ngozi, don't come to work today." Ngozi's eyes widened. "Sir?" He said, "Take the day off," he said with a kind voice. "Enjoy your new home. Cook something sweet. Sit with your daughters. Today is for you." Ngozi put her hand on her chest. "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much." "You've earned it, Ngozi," he said. "Enjoy your day." The call ended. Ngozi held the phone close to her heart. She stood up and walked to the kitchen. It was shiny and clean. She opened a small cupboard and brought out rice and fresh vegetables. As she cooked, the girls came in, still smiling. "Mommy, what are you making?" one asked. Ngozi turned and looked at them with love. "Our first meal in this house," she said softly. She reached out and took their little hands. "Before we eat," Ngozi said, "let's thank God again." The girls nodded. They closed their eyes, and together, with simple words and full hearts, they prayed. Their journey had been hard, but now a new life had begun, and it started with faith, kindness, and love. Dear viewer, this story reminds us that kindness can change lives. Sometimes the person walking quietly beside you is fighting a big battle you cannot see. Ngozi didn't beg, she didn't steal, she worked hard, prayed, and never gave up, even when life was very hard. And Mr. Chijioke, he chose to see her, to help her, and that changed everything. The lesson is simple. If you can help someone, please do. One small act of kindness can light up a whole family's life. What did you learn from this story? Drop your thoughts in the comment section. I would truly love to read them. And guess what? There's another very interesting story coming in a few days. So please subscribe to this channel and turn on your notification bell so you'll be the first to watch when I upload it. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends and loved ones. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate you.